Hi, it's John Adams. This is the Public Crusader. Another week, another scandal involving the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, otherwise known as ASIC. I am sick to death of bureaucrats who are being paid obscene sums of money, $500,000 or more, who are doing an absolutely terrible job. They're not accountable. They're not transparent. They play games. They treat the Parliament and the Australian people like absolute mugs. When are we going to get rid of these types of people? Just to bring you up to speed with the latest scandal that happened in federal Parliament this week. 2 years ago, there was an investigation into the current Deputy Chair of ASIC, Karen Chester. This investigation was triggered by the former Chairman of ASIC, James Shipton, as well as other ASIC employees who collected a dossier about Ms. Chester's conduct. Those concerns were sent to the Treasury, and that led to an independent investigation involving an external law firm. That investigation initially was budgeted for $75,000. The investigation ended up costing $180,000. The investigation found that a number of the allegations were either wholly or partially substantiated, but there was not enough for any criminal activity to be referred to law enforcement in terms of the federal police. The Treasury basically said that there was not enough for them to do anything with it, but that ASIC could do something under their code of conduct. The report was then given back to the ASIC chairman, Joseph Longo, for his final decision about what happens next. He basically, in the classic Pontius Pilate style, washed his hands of the report, put it in his drawer, ignored it, and he just carried on and pretended that nothing happened. 2 weeks ago, in the federal parliament, this report was finally exposed in the Senate estimates process by Senator Bragg. Initially, ASIC tried to play games and pretend that there was no report, there was no investigation. They then came out and said there was an investigation, but there was no so-called adverse findings. We then found out that there was a number of allegations which were proven to be true. We don't know what those allegations are. We don't know if they're serious. We don't know if they're trivial. What we found out in the last couple of weeks was that the chairman of ASIC said that this report had a mixed assessment about the deputy chair. So what happened this week was Senator Bragg moves a motion in the Australian Senate demanding that the government hands over the report to the Parliament so we can actually find out what these so-called allegations were and what was proven to be wholly or partially substantiated. On Tuesday, the vote in the Senate was 40-19. Every single political party in the Senate, other than the Labor Party, voted for transparency. They voted for this report to come public. Why did Labor vote against the release of a report of things that ASIC did when the coalition was in power? There's a lot of people scratching their head over why the Labor Party is behaving the way they are. I have a strong suspicion I know why that is, but that is yet to be revealed, and hopefully we'll have more to say about the potential hidden relationships between ASIC and the ALP and the Albanese government. But what we saw out of Tuesday was the Senate said 40-19, hand over the report, we want to know what's going on. And the due date was the Thursday at 12 o'clock. We get to Thursday, and what happens? The government refuses to release the report, and they use a technique called, they claimed public interest immunity, that it was against the public interest to release the report, and they gave three specific reasons. Reason number one was that releasing the report would disclose the identity of the informants inside ASIC who dobbed on Ms. Chester, who still work at ASIC, and that's unfair to them because they dobbed on her on the proviso that their identities would remain secret. Reason number two is that the report contains legal advice to the government, and it's been a long-standing practice that legal advice of this type of nature remains confidential. And reason number three is the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, claimed that releasing this report would be unfair to Ms. Chester because there were some allegations in the report were proven not to be true. The Parliament in the Senate have the power to override this public interest immunity. What we want to know, and I think what some of the senators want to know, is we don't want to know the sources, we don't care about the legal advice, and we don't care about any allegations that were proven to be untrue. What we want to know is what allegations were proven to be true, how serious are they, is Ms. Chester doing a professional job, can we trust her in that role given the substantial paycheck that she gets, and is she fit to be the deputy chair of ASIC's financial police force? That's a fair set of questions, and yet the government is basically stalling and protecting certain people at the financial police force, aka ASIC. Why that is, who knows? But in the next week and a half, I am hoping that Parliament comes back and uses its power to override this claim of public interest immunity and legally force the government to hand over the document, because we, the taxpayer who pay Ms. Chester's salary and the salary of all these politicians and bureaucrats at Treasury and the other people at ASIC, they answer to us. We are the master, we are in charge, we deserve to know what is happening behind the scenes, and all these secrets and all these games that these bureaucrats play, it has to come to an end. ASIC's performance for 15 years has been absolutely woeful. They have created an absolute mess in the financial system. This inquiry that is happening right now is going to expose case study after case study where either ASIC failed to serve the public interest and put crooks away in jail, or actually to commence even an investigation, or they're going to expose examples of where ASIC dropped a nuclear bomb on the wrong village, and in some cases they did it illegally and there was no lawful basis in terms of the action that they took. It is critical, if we're going to expose the deep state in this country and actually fix Australia, that we actually identify bureaucrats who are not doing a proper job and get them out of power. That's why this report and the transparency around this report is so critical. So if this issue is important to you, and ensuring that we have transparency and accountability at the highest levels of the financial law enforcement community of this country, I strongly urge you to write to senators of your state or territory and talk to them about this ASIC issue. You can look up various media articles where this was reported in the last week, particularly at, say, the Financial Review or the Australian. A lot of this is all public, and so you, the citizens of Australia, have the power to tell your politicians enough is enough. We want transparency, we want accountability, we want to know what Ms. Chester did, we want to know the truth, and we want justice in this country, and we want a country that works for us and is high performing and it is successful. You have the power to influence the political system so that we can get these outcomes together. This is John Adams. I'm the Public Crusader. Stay with us. We're going to keep pushing the system until the system starts to work for us.